Welcome to this video about analyzing images in Blazor. I am using Blazor Server, but you can follow along also with Blazor WebAssembly. So to analyze an image, we first have to implement a mechanism where we can actually upload an image. And therefore, I'm going to the NuGet marketplace. I'm installing Steve Sandersons Blazor input file. Now, because that's .NET Core 3.1, you have to install it manually. With .NET 5, it will be pre-installed. Where is it? No, it can't be that. Ah, here. So now, just because I'm already here in the NuGet thing, I'm also going to install the SDK for calling the Azure API, and it is called Azure Computer Vision. And here, because it only targets .NET Standard version 1.4, you see that you can use it in Blazor WebAssembly too. So we've installed all the required tools. I'm going to stick to the bootstrap styling. I'm going to create a label, choose image to analyze. Now I'm going to hide the button that is that comes when I use the input file component. And don't make it self-closing, make it like that. Now it's a bit ugly, so I just import a namespace. So why I'm creating the label? I'm creating the label to hide the button that comes predefined when we use the input file component. Because it's a bit hard and cumbersome to style this button, I'm just going to style the label, give it a class of button secondary. Now here I set the ID to input, and then I have to set the style to display none so that we are hiding it, because this button here or this label here has the ability to trigger it. We can hide it with no problems. So that's that. Now let's go to the code part. Here, this component, of course, has an event handler defined where we can subscribe to. It has different overloads. One of them is a function with arguments that are, what is the argument? So the overload we are using now is a function iFileListEntryArray task. So I'm calling them files. So if we change them, we are getting the files that are changed. Now here we are calling a method, public async task. I call it analyze. It takes the file list, iFileListEntryArray. So now we have to await this method call and also give it the arguments. So that's that. Now, how are we going to proceed in this method? I have to define a memory stream. So that's a stream that lives in the memory, as the name suggests. Again, I'm going to import a namespace. So now, files, we are taking the first one out of these files. If you only upload one file, we only get one. Now data is of type stream, and because it's a stream, we can call copy, no, not write async, copy to async. Now here pass the memory stream. Now here we would we have an uninitialized field, so this wouldn't work because memory stream is null. So I'm initializing it in the uninitialized async method. memory stream equals new memory stream. So now we also want to display the selected image. We are doing that with a base 64 encoded string. I call it base 64 image. Oh no, 64, not 65. Now here I have to call source equals, and that's a part that I've copied. I would recommend you to copy it too, like if you develop on your own or stuff, because I think it is quite useful. So data image JPEG base 64. Now here I have to pass the base 64 string. So at base 64 image. Yeah, the naming is not great, but because we don't have that many properties, fields, variables, whatever, it shouldn't matter that much. So now we have to set this base 64 string, of course. Base 64 image equals. Now we call convert to base 64 string. This takes a byte array as input, and memory stream has a method that is called toArray, which returns the byte array itself as a byte array. Yes, that's that. Now the real part comes in with the calling the API from Azure. I'm going to app settings JSON, create a new section, call it Azure. Here we need two things. We need the endpoint, how you retrieve those values from Azure and how you set it up. I will link the official Microsoft documentation. It's not just because I'm lazy, it's also because I think Microsoft has just a great documentation, and I don't see the point really in like doing it myself again, explaining it again. So of course I don't want you to see it, so I make it here. So I just copying the key and the endpoint. So okay, so I've copied the strings in the app settings file. Of course, like in a production, you need to use Azure Key Vault or something like that. So now we have to create the object that encapsulates that HTTP client so that we can make the requests. This object is of type computer vision client. Computer vision client. So declaring the field. Yeah, let's take one of the predefined names. Importing namespace again. So now here in the initialize async method, we are going to initialize this field2 equals new computer vision client. We give it the API key service credentials. It has an overloaded constructor. One of them is taking a string. Now here we are going to pass the app settings .key. Therefore, I have to inject iConfiguration config. Now, because iConfiguration has defined an indexer, we can just call config. Now first, here is the section, so Azure, and then the key. And now we can also give the computer vision client with the object initializer the endpoint, and now the same like game as we did here, reading the values out of the configuration file, just that we have to change it here to endpoint. So yeah, that's that. Now we also need if we call the API, we give the API the information about which types of information we want to get back. So they are called visual feature types, and that's enum. Just call it features. Yeah, again, importing the namespace. So now here we have to initialize the list too. Features equals new list. And now here we can just pass the values in because visual feature types is an enum. It's pretty easy to do it. So we want the tags and we want the description. The description is just a sentence about what does it think, like more like a breakdown of the whole image. And the tags are just tags, and then they come with a confidence. So now here we have to pass the byte array to the method, so to get the returned visual feature types back. But first, if we copy this stream here to the memory stream, the position of the memory stream will be at this last point. So we have to reset the memory stream. Just do position equals 0. Now, I also promise that's the last object I define. I call it image analysis. Here the result is getting saved. Now, image analysis equals await computer vision client dot analyze image by stream async. Now we are going to pass the memory stream, and we are going to pass the features. So now I'm going to call status changed. So now let's just quickly build the UI. So an image per default is type inline block, so I make it display block. And now I'm going to create a div, which I use to display everything. But first I am saying if image analysis not equals null, so let's just first display the tags. Now let's enumerate over them for each. Okay, image analysis, spelled it with. So now for each var item in image analysis dot tags, I think they come already ordered, but I just to be sure I order them descending to their confidence. So like the first tag should be the tag that Azure is most confident about. Now here, class, again, I make it display of block. I think the paragraphs are not display block, but just to be on the safe side. So item.name, and then the item.confidence. And also, because we are getting the description back too, here we have image analysis.description captions. Okay, so let's take the first one and then just the text. Let's give it a go. Okay, there's an error. What's the error? Yeah, okay. I completely forgot, if you are using the Blazor input component, of course it needs JavaScript, and we have to reference this JavaScript, and we have to do it here. And I've if you on a project website and then the blog post from Steve Sanderson, it is also there. So you have just to add this link to the JavaScript file. Now it should work. Okay, choose image to analyze. I give it this one. Doesn't work. Yes, I quickly paused the video and went to the app settings file, and there I had a mistake. I just misspelled the endpoint. Now it should work. Okay, so the image is getting displayed, and here we see the tags. Sky, so 99% that Microsoft is sure that there is a sky. Yes, there is. And maybe the coolest part of all, a large body of water with a city in the background. Yeah, so I've shown you how we can use the file input that Steve Sanderson provides. Now we have to install it manually, but with .NET 5 we are getting it out of the box. I've also showed you how we can use the Azure Computer Vision Client SDK and how we can analyze an image. Thank you very much for your attention.